network, studio, and streaming assets. Joining us this morning is Robert Fishman, senior analyst at Moffett Nathanson, has a buy rating on Warner Brothers Discovery. It's great to see you, Robert. Thanks for the time this morning.
Thanks for having me, of course.
There's been some reporting over the weekend about Comcast, but it sounds like your base case of P-Sky in the pole position still holds, yes?
Definitely right. I mean, it comes down to who we think actually needs these assets more. And when we upgraded Warner Brothers Discovery earlier this year, the premium nature of these assets and the quality of these assets, when you go through the portfolio with Warner Brothers Studio, HBO, the DC comics, all of the great IP that they actually own, really makes sense when you think about putting that together with the other subscale streaming partners. And yes, Paramount Skydance now we think should be the one that ends up with this. But at the same time, Comcast and Peacock, when thinking about that they also need these assets, we think that the bidding war could continue.
I wonder, is there a split between the player you think has the financing and the ability to close versus the player who would most efficiently leverage the assets, be the best custodian of the assets? Are they the same player in both scenarios?
It's a great question. I think that ultimately we're still going to learn about who has the full financial backing and different partners. So that's something that we are waiting to learn a little bit more. There's been some reporting that the company has disputed on the P-Sky side. But at the same time, ultimately, who needs this more? We think ultimately Paramount Skydance and Comcast both need these assets in order to help fight the streaming fight when thinking about who they're competing against. Yes, Netflix is also in the mix of this, but at the same time, when you zoom out the picture and look at who these legacy media companies are now competing with for sports rights, for entertainment content, it comes down to all of these other larger digital companies, including YouTube at the top of the list in terms of streaming engagement.
Robert, you mentioned Netflix is not among the companies that seems to need it badly to fulfill its business objectives. I just wonder if you think that there's a risk through this process, as you know, the competitors lobby against Netflix as a consolidator, if that's going to hamstring the company longer term in terms of its ambitions. There have been these reports that the Trump administration has been looking at Netflix as potentially maybe too strong from a competitive perspective.
Yeah, well, again, I think it comes down to how you define the full market. And when thinking about the media landscape, clearly that's evolved tremendously and even more so over the past couple of years, with YouTube now being that largest streaming player and continuing to grow as fast as it has over the past year or two. It really comes down to more of a definitional market and how you define that. So to answer the question, yes, Netflix clearly has won the subscription streaming war and continues to, we think, to have a lot of strong momentum ahead to monetize that subscriber base that they have, not just in the U.S., but globally.
But how much should Warner Brothers be discounting the antitrust risk around Netflix in particular? I mean, when it comes to control of studio streaming, but also, you know, their politics here with the Trump administration. The founder funded the redistricting campaign in California, something President Trump was involved with.
Yeah, I think really what this comes down to is that there's going to be a lot of whispers on lots of different angles here on the whole regulatory approval process. Netflix has some connections that you're alluding to there. When thinking about Comcast, obviously they have their own hand that they have to deal with, and even P-Sky to some extent as well. So each will have to deal with their regulatory concerns on their own. But we think ultimately the strategic sense of what this portfolio combines with when thinking about Warner Brothers Discovery and P-Sky, it should be the ultimate winner here.
Robert, it's a pretty good parlor game right now in media. It's gonna be a tough one to replace once it ends. We'll see if and when it ends. Robert, thanks so much joining us, talk some media over at Moffett Nathanson. When we come back, former NASDAQ chief Bob Greifeld's with us with some thoughts on the AI trade, NVIDIA, and more.